What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing likely my final battles in the Sunshine Cup, as I'm already very bored of this meta. But in this video I'm going to be using a double dragon and ground backline with Shadow Garchomp and Shadow Flygon. However, I'm opting for Mudshot and the buffed Earthquake on Shadow Flygon, mainly because I ran out of charge TMs earlier in the season when I was trying to get Earth Power, but also because I feel like nobody will be expecting this nuke, and so I might be able to flip matchups on the save swap or potentially just nuke everything as a closer. This team helped me to regain around 150 elo after essentially getting bullied on stream the other day, as the wheel was not being very generous with its team selections. Now, if you wanted to try this team out yourself, both Garchomp and Flygon have access to the same move options and they have relatively similar stats. Garchomp is slightly more attack weighted, but you can basically just use them interchangeably. So if your Garchomp happens to already have Earthquake, you might as well just run that as the nuke spammer instead and run Flygon with the moveset that you see Shadow Garchomp on right now. Anyways, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What's the most unexpected nuke charge attack that you've been KO'd by recently in the Go Battle League? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know which Pokemon was using that nuke move as well. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading Shadow Abomasnow into a Galarian Stunfisk. Of course, expecting them to have Rock Slide, I'm actually going to farm up to a Weather Ball, then look to try and catch it onto Shadow Flygon. That backfires, but they come in with Shadow Quagsire, and do they know we are going straight for the Hail Mary. Earthquake! One-shots the Shadow Quagsire, we flip switch advantage, and let's see what they want to do now. The opponent's going to come in with a double, and we're still able to outpace to a Twister before they can even reach a Body Slam, and Twister is going to connect. It does very decent damage. At this point, we're going to no shield. Flygon has done its job. The opponent goes for Body Slam. I'm now going to come in with the Shadow Garchomp, and I will likely shield once and then try to commit to a full fast move farm down. Nope, never mind. I'm not going to shield here, realizing the opponent does have a lot of energy on the Galarian Stunfisk. Unfortunately, just barely missing out on the full farm down there, and that's almost a bit of a story of how Garchomp's gameplay went today for me. Basically, just every time I tried to commit to a farm down, it would just narrowly not quite get the full farm down, and either I'd have to swap out, catch a charge move, or potentially waste a ton of energy when they're on like 1 or 2 HP, which was very frustrating. But either way, here we're just going to spam out these Weather Balls. Weather Ball is going to grab the shield, and now we go for the combination play. We've got back-to-back Sand Tombs. The opponent does still have a catch opportunity, but they don't use it there, and so we're able to go for a second Sand Tomb. All shields are now down. Sand Tomb gets the knockout. We Dragon Tail farm down the dub wall, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Blaziken in the lead. That is not a great matchup for me. I'm going to say swapping into the Garchomp this time around because we do have some fast move pressure, whereas if we swap into Flygon, we're just going to be behind on energy, and we can't really deal that much fast move pressure, despite the fact that Mudshot is, of course, super effective. Anyways, we shield the first charge move. We go for Twister. Twister does actually put them into farm down range, which is very nice for me. And now they come back in with the Blaziken, which we can see is on counter. I don't go for the Dragon Tail because I wasn't entirely sure if I would still reach the charge move, and likely I wouldn't have made it. Either way, they're going to come in with double, so they've got basically fighting type fast move pressure on all 3 Pokemon, but of course double not hitting super hard with those double kicks. So we're going to come in with the Shadow Abomasnow. They fire off the Body Slam. I'm now going to look to throw an Energy Ball on CMP. I'm hoping this will put them into perfect farm down range. Energy Ball is going to get them incredibly low. That is literally best case scenario for me. However, unfortunately, the opponent can now swap back into Blaziken, but Shadow Flygon already at back-to-back Twisters. First one grabs the final shield. Twister number 2 should be enough damage. Shadow on Shadow to take out the Blaziken, and Shadow Flygon able to Mudshot farm them down just in the nick of time, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, I'm going to see Breloom in the lead. So, not a great matchup for me. I am going to throw one Powder Snow first and then swap into my Shadow Garchomp. That way, when the opponent does throw some energy, I can get a full Dragon Tail in for free as they're forced to throw on alignment. Now, unfortunately, I can't quite commit to a full farm down here. Otherwise, it will be a simultaneous KO. So, instead, I throw the Sand Tomb. Maybe should have thrown that sooner because it looks like I would have got a simultaneous KO anyways. But, as I mentioned, Garchomp just barely not getting the full farm down here. We're going to come in as they only have a Seed Bomb loaded, but they've also got a Turtonator. We swap into Flygon, but they've got a Shadow Steelix in the back, and this should be game over. This is just going to be a Psychic Fangs. This is not going to do much damage at all. Now, I might as well just look to overfarm in this matchup, and once again, full sending the Earthquake. Earthquake gets the KO there very comfortably. They come back in with the Turtonator, but we've got so much residual energy already. Twister going to grab the final shield, and the opponent not quite at back-to-back charge moves just yet, which means Twister number 2 will get the knockout up against the Turtonator, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into next battle, going to see a shiny Shadow Flygon in the lead. So this is an amazing lead matchup for me. The opponent safe swap straight away, and honestly, I come in with the Flygon because I was expecting this to be a team that is accident showcased recently with the Shadow Flygon in the lead, and then Licky Licky as the safe swap, and Quagsire as the closer. And my thinking was, Flygon basically should be fine into Licky Licky. We don't even really need switch advantage because Garchomp is going to be pretty even into the opposing Flygon, and then of course we've got a Bomber Snow which core breaks the Flygon and the Quagsire. However, unfortunately, that was a very incorrect team read, and now we're down a shield. Things don't really look that great for me. I'm going to shield here as they go for the Energy Ball, and honestly, Energy Ball would get me very low as it is neutral damage, and Garchomp doesn't exactly have the best stats here, but either way, we go for Sand Tomb. Now we're about to find out, can we tank the Energy Ball here? Energy Ball gets us incredibly low, but Garchomp, really lucky there. We get damage registration error, it looks like. So Sand Tomb grabs the final shield. We've already got the Weather Ball loaded. However, unfortunately, whilst, yes, we are going to hit for double super effective damage into this Shadow Flygon, they reach a Twister. Twister gets the knockout, and we end up losing that game. But GG's up on there, into the next battle. I can see Shadow Bomber Snow into a mirror lead matchup here. So we are going to go straight for Weather Ball. I want to find out who wins CMP. However, the opponent actually catches onto a Colossal. That's actually fine with me because we've got a really hard answer in the form of Shadow Flygon. And at this point, the opponent will be reaching a Charge Move. However, probably just going to be a Flame Charge, which just not going to do much damage. Yes, of course, the Fire Spins are now going to add up slightly more. But either way, I'm going to go for a Twister, but I'm going to go for an Undercharge because I want to come out of this matchup with back-to-back Twisters, which means if the opponent wants to commit to the farm down with the Bomber Snow, they're going to have to take 2 Twisters. So they shield the first, but we reach the second one here as one single Powder Snow does not farm me down, and we get them incredibly low. At this point, I'm kind of expecting a double fire backline, but just in case it's not, I am going to shield here, go for the Powder Snow farm down, and it's actually a Quagsire. So honestly, I thought they swapped into Colossal because they had a double fire backline, but either way, Energy Ball gets the one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into next battle, to see Macargo in the lead. Of course, not a great matchup for me. I will be safe swapping into the Shadow Garchomp, and the opponent comes in with a Shadow Quagsire. Now, I'm going to go straight for a Sand Tomb here. Sand Tomb going to be no-shielded by the opponent, which not really ideal. However, obviously, we do debuff their defense. I should now be able to shield once and then commit to a Dragon Tail farm down anyways. And I do wonder if we do more damage over time by going for a Sand Tomb first, or if we would do more damage just going for the Twister straight away, and then, of course, not debuffing them. Now, here I make a huge mistake. I go for the extra Dragon Tail, but we do not live the peck damage. And now, unfortunately, we just don't get off that second charge move there. Now, they're going to go for a Drill Peck. They still have a shield, and I wait a turn there just to make sure they don't make the catch, but I just don't react in time anyway, so not only do they swap out, they also get the Incinerate through because I paused for a split second there. So, honestly, awful play on my end. And unfortunately, yeah, just making all the wrong plays here, of course, missing out on the charge move on the Garchomp, not reacting quickly enough with my Bomber Snow, allowing the opponent to reach a Rock Tomb to take out the Flygon, and now being incinerated farm down by the Macargo. Honestly, awful battle on my end, but GG's to that opponent there. Into next battle, we're going to see Shadow Quagsire in the lead. So this is a great matchup for me. The opponent's going to be safe swapping into Dunsparce, and I'm going to come in with my Garchomp. We can no-shield the first charge move here as the opponent is going to go straight for a Drill Run. This time around, I believe I will go straight for Twister. However, I realize from this range, it won't quite get the knockout just yet. So I'm going to shield the Drill Run. I then don't want to go over 100 energy. So instead of throwing on CMP, we go for Twister here. But unfortunately, again, that just doesn't quite get the knockout. So whilst I would have gone over 100 energy, maybe it was the right play to look to throw on CMP. Anyways, they're going to come in with a Credilli. This time, I'm going for Sand Tomb straight away. They no-shield the first move here, which means likely they will have to shield the next one, so I might as well go for a second Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb number 2 is going to be shielded, and now, of course, they are double debuffed. The opponent going to swap out there, clearing the debuff there, but coming in with the Shadow Quagsire. I'm not messing around here. I'm going straight for Energy Ball. Energy Ball is going to be shielded by the Shadow Quagsire, and at this point, I think I am going to look to shield here. They've got a lot of energy. The opponent full sends the Stone Edge. I'm now going to farm up to back-to-back Weather Balls, and it doesn't matter. That Credilli has likely 100 energy as Weather Ball gets the knockout, and the second one gonna win CMP. It will be taking out the Credilli from this range, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to put there into next battle. Going to see Shadow Swampert in the lead. So, again, a great matchup for me. The opponent is going to be staying in here, and they probably win CMP, and they're likely on Sludge as well. So, actually, not that dominant of a matchup, but we can now look to overfarm, and we have put them into range where Weatherball should get the knockout anyways. But here, I'm going to swap out into my Garchomp, and I'm able to catch likely a resisted Sludge, but also I get the Dragon Tail in as we swap out there. They're going to come in with the Fearow, this time around going straight for the Twister here, not going to overfarm at all. Twister, going to deal big damage, but again, it doesn't quite get the knockout there, which is really frustrating, but either way, we're still in a great position. Actually, we put them into range where we can Mudshot farm them down with the Shadow Flygon there. We're now going to look to overfarm just a little bit. I didn't want to throw on CMP just in case they win CMP. I feel like Shadow Flygon should win that CMP tie, but either way, it doesn't really matter. They've got Magcargo in the back. This game is absolutely over. We go for Twister. Twister, gonna be shielded. Of course, I expect a Rock Team. I should probably just barely live this, but either way, we're not messing around here. We're gonna shield. We're gonna full send the Earthquake. We're not gonna hit the bubbles. Earthquake gets the KO anyways. Then that was debuffed as well, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into next battle. I'm going to see Shadow Girafarig in the lead. This is going to be a bit of a tricky matchup here, but we can outpace them to the first charge move, so I'm going to go straight for the Weather Ball. Now, of course, these confusions are really going to add up. However, the Psychic Fangs not really going to deal too much damage here. Well, never mind. Obviously, this is a Shadow Garchomp we're talking about, so yes, it is going to deal quite a lot of damage there. But either way, we go for the Sand Team, and we grab both shields from the opponent. We can come back in with the Abomasnow, as in this matchup, the Psychic Fangs isn't going to deal too much, but the opponent actually swaps out there, and they swap into Double. Now, honestly, I should probably go for a Weather Ball here, just because, like, we need a second charge move from the Flygon anyway, so we might as well just save a little bit of energy there. But we come in with the Shadow Flygon, and unfortunately, I'm just never going to be able to go for a Mudshot farm down. I know shield the Body Slam here, which maybe is a mistake, just because Psychic Fangs will do probably slightly less damage there. Maybe it would do more, actually, never mind. Either way, we're going to shield the Body Slam. They come back in with the Girafarig. I'm going to use my final shield here, and then, of course, I will go for one more Mudshot, and then fire off the Twister. We do have a lot of energy here, but we need something that we can nuke with the Earthquake to get the win here. So let's find out what do they have in the back. It's going to be an Obstagoon, but I think Obstagoon is probably just slightly too bulky here. Earthquake does big damage, but they hang on. They counter farm me down, and unfortunately I lose that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. Going to see Credilli in the lead. So, this is going to be a slightly positive matchup for me. I'm going to go straight for the Weather Ball here. You can see I do wait one turn to make sure they don't make the catch there as well. However, of course, we already know if they did swap out there, I probably wouldn't react in time anyways, and I'd end up throwing the Weather Ball, regardless of them swapping out. But either way, we go for the Twister. And again, unfortunately, just not quite getting that full farm down. This time they did obviously just overfarm here, so they would have reached the charge move, even if we did take them out with that Dragon Tail. But they come back in with the Credilli. We can win CMP. We go for Sand Tomb there. We get the knockout. Their final Pokemon gonna be a Shadow Toucannon, and of course this is double resisted. But they have to. Well, never mind. I was gonna say they have to start shielding. Doesn't really matter at this point because these Powder Snows are absolutely gonna tear through their HP. We shield up the Drill Peck. We get the Powder Snow farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. I'm going to see Shadow Blaziken in the lead once again. We're going to swap out, but the opponent, oh my god, I don't know if they just predicted my team there, but they swap out immediately into Shadow Pilot Swine. That is genuinely the worst battle I've ever played. Like, honestly, that is, well, it's not even reactions because they didn't even throw a fast move with the Blaziken there. They just instantly swapped out. I don't even know what happened there, but GG's to that trainer into the next battle, and we are seeing Garchomp into a Talonflame. However, they're on Peck rather than Incinerate, which is very interesting. However, whilst they are doing more damage in this battle, we can still commit to a Dragon Tail farm down, and this time Garchomp does get the farm down. And we've got a lot of energy. Likely, they just no-shield the Flygon here because that is pretty useless into a Abomasnow. They're going to fully sacrifice it, and their final Pokemon is a Chestnut. Now, this is a little bit scary for me. However, we do have energy on the Abomasnow, and all we have to do here, fire off the Weather Ball, and just stay in this matchup. This is going to force the opponent to go for a Superpower, which should allow Flygon to get the knockout with a Twister. So, of course, they debuff their defense there, meaning Twister gonna hit harder than it usually does. Twister will eventually get the knockout up against the Chestnut, and I'm able to take that game. Also, that person on my friends list, so shout out to that trainer. Into the next battle, we're going to see another Blaziken in the lead. We're going to be swapping out straight away. Luckily, this time around, no instant Piloswine counter swap there. We're going to shield the Charge Brief as Depot is going to stay in and fire for the Aura Sphere before coming in with a Ferret. I'm going for the Sand Tomb first time around here. Sand Tomb, going to be no shield. It doesn't really deal too much damage here. Honestly, I probably should have gone for another Sand Tomb because surely they start shielding at this point, and they do shield this time. However, I guess it doesn't really matter too much. They are single debuff, but I'm actually going to shield here. I'm then going to swap back into a Bomber Snow. I'm really not sure about this play at all, as the opponent can now just swap back into their Blaziken, and whilst yes, I will reach a Weatherable, they can fully farm me down here, which I will not appreciate at all. But they actually no shield, which is very nice for me, but let's see what do they have in the back. They're going to come in with a Fury Cutter Zangoose, and unfortunately, this thing is pretty deadly as a closer, especially when I don't have anything that resists close combat. I tried to swap out a go for the combination play here, but of course, this is not a CMP time because Zangoose, I think, probably wins CMP up against the Garchomp, which means they've now got the close combat. They're going to throw this straight away. Close combat easily takes out the Shadow Flygon, and unfortunately, I lose that game. But GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we're going to see another really bad lead matchup for the Abomasnow. This time we Safe Swap into our Shadow Flygon. We kind of interchanged it between the Flygon and the Garchomp on the Safe Swap, and here they come in with a Credilli. Now I recognize Credilli is going to be slightly too bulky to one-shot with the Earthquake, so I'm going to go for back-to-back Twisters here. Twister number 2 is going to be shielded. I'm also going to shield. They very likely bait with a Rock Tomb, and they do exactly that. So now I'm debuffed. Twister probably won't get the KO, but we reach the Earthquake. Earthquake will certainly get the knockout here, but they actually end up double shielding. That's still fine with me. Grass Knot gonna get the knockout this time around. We come in with the Abomasnow. They swap back into the Skeledirge. So, of course, I'm coming in with my Shadow Garchomp. The opponent is gonna fire for the Charge Reef. They're gonna full send the Shadow Ball straight away. Here, I'm not messing around. Twister is gonna do more roll damage than a Sand Tomb. Twister gets the knockout. They come back in with Credilli, and Garchomp is gonna reach a Sand Tomb before they get to a move of their own. Sand Tomb gets the knockout there. Their final Pokemon gonna be a Dunsparce. I'm gonna look to throw on CMP, and the opponent does throw immediately. So of course, Twister gonna deal big damage. The opponent gonna go for the Draw Run. Draw Run not doing as much damage this season, barely doesn't get the knockout. We can come in with the Abomasnow. Weather Ball would have definitely been enough damage, but we might as well go for the Energy Ball. It gets the knockout there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we see a Shadow Nidoqueen in the lead. Honestly, I thought they'd be on Mud Slap, so I stay in initially, but they're actually on Poison Jab, so I'm going to go for Weather Ball as I can outpace. I'm now going to swap into my Shadow Flygon, and the opponent goes straight for a Poison Fang. Of course, that is resisted damage there, which is fine with me. They're going to come in with the Quagsire, but unfortunately, they're on Mud Shot rather than on Water Gun, which means they are faster to the Charge Brief, so I just settle for going for a Twister immediately. I'm now going to shield the Arctotail. I'm going to look to go for a second Twister, once again throwing straight away here because this is going to be another CMP tie. Twister going to get the knockout. They're going to come in with a Shadow Obscure, and it didn't quite look like I would reach a Charge Brief there since I was debuffed, and so I come in with my Shadow Garchomp. Now you could argue that I should have just committed to a full Fast Move farm down there, but we throw the energy, and the opponent is now going to come back in with the Obstagoon. They're going to go for a Night Slash, and they don't get the boost, which is quite nice for me. We can now fire off the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb is going to be shielded by the opponent, and the opponent committing to the farm down. We're able to reach another Charge Reef. Of course, I should have gone for Twister, but Sand Tomb is enough damage to get the knockout anyways, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's over there. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Fearow in the lead. So, of course, neutral matchup here. We can outpace them in the one-shield scenario. I don't want to throw straight away just in case they do try and go for a catch there. So, the opponent is going to grab the shield advantage and then just swap into Ferret. Now, we've already seen that this isn't really that comfortable of a matchup for the Flygon, as unfortunately a Twister won't quite get the KO here, but we can full send the Earthquake, and surely they don't shield this. No, they end up shielding the Earthquake, but I think we would have only reached one Charge Reef anyways, as we were very low. But now we're going to come in with the Garchomp. I'm still going to no-shield this first Charge Move as they will reach the Brick Break there. But unfortunately, they will just barely outpace me to the next move as well. So that is not ideal for me in the slightest. Here, I'm going to bank the energy, swap back into a Abomasnow. I'm not really sure about this play at all, though. I probably should have just thrown the Charge Move there. But we get the KO. They come back in with the Fearow. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be a Mud Boy in the back. In which case, unfortunately, I've taken way too much damage here. We can reach the Weather Ball, but we are so low to the point where actually the opponent can come in and they can go for a full mudshot farm down if we reach the weather ball there. Of course, combination play with the twister likely would have been enough damage, but unfortunately, they get the perfect farm down. They have the icy wind. That gets the one shot and we lose that game. But GG's up in there. Into the next battle, we're going to see the same combination here of a Mud Boy and a Flying type. They're going to swap out into the Fearow, so we're going to grab a shield advantage. We're then going to come in with the Shadow Garchomp. I'm going to look to shield here, and I'm going to try and go for a full Dragon Tail farm down, but let's see if we can actually make that happen. We go for the second shield. We need to farm down in 3 Dragon Tails, and Garchomp once again just not getting that full farm down. Honestly, Garchomp was like genuinely pretty frustrating to use, but they're going to come in with a Pidgeot. So here we can go for Twister. Twister gonna be shielded. I'm now going to swap out into my Shadow Flygon, and the opponent does reach a charge move. The opponent also running Twister. That gets the one shot here, but we do still have our Bomber Snow. We should be able to outpace them to the next move, as they did go for a Twister rather than the Air Cutter. So they swap back into Quagsire. We overfarm as much as physically possible here. A couple more Water Guns, and they fully farm me down. But because of that overfarm, we're able to go for 1 Powder Snow, reach the Weather Ball. Weather Ball takes out the Pidgeot, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.